Hey everyone, welcome to the True Words Aren't Beautiful channel, and we are here for the Just Do Shit Philosophy series. We're going to go over the mental baggage topic today, touch upon a few things here, and also get a little bit of a clarification for the Just Do Shit philosophy. One thing that some people are wondering is if just doing shit is just the same as crossing off items on your bucket list or creating a bucket list. And no, it's not like that at all. Just do shit is more of a philosophy for self-discipline and getting out your head out of your asshole. The problem with the bucket list approach is you're really just crossing off extracurricular items or little small goals to say that you lived an interesting life. That's not what just doing shit is, although you can commit that philosophy to your bucket list, especially when you feel there's so many restrictions to crossing off those items there. So, to define discipline very quickly, it's doing things that you don't want to because you need to do them. For example, I don't want to write my final exam in college. I don't want to study, but I need to if I want to keep a scholarship, for example. That's discipline. Discipline is also getting up at 7 in the morning, doing my routine, feeding the dogs, walking the dogs, bringing some plastic bags to pick up their crap, because no one likes a shit and run, which I see way too often in my neighborhood. Discipline involves taking a shower daily, or two if you are in the Gulf states, or here in Southeast Asia, some people I know take 3 showers a day. Discipline is not engorging yourself on food. Discipline is holding your tongue before you say something stupid, which is something that I'm still working on, given that I've said so many horrible things to people in anger. Discipline is cleaning your room, scrubbing the toilet, brushing your teeth. You wouldn't believe there are many people out there who don't even shower every day. And granted, there are some people who say, well, it's winter and it's super cold here, so sometimes I don't shower for the entire winter. I know a couple of people who don't shower for 2 to 3 months during the winter months. And they say, well, they don't sweat, and they just wipe off, so they're totally fine. I find that disgusting, but I just like hygiene. When I had major depression at times, or rather unhappiness rather than debilitating depression, hygiene suffered, and I really had to force myself to shower, even though I'd skip a couple days here and there, because I just felt I would get sweaty anyway, and my place was hot and muggy because we didn't have an air conditioner and it was open air. And I would sweat so much while sleeping that my bed would be drenched in sweat. So I said, what's the point of showering then? But you do that because you need to. Otherwise, what compelled me to be more hygienic when I was living in a crappy place that I was sweating all the time and soaking the mattress was when my skin became unbearably itchy, and I wondered why those itches wouldn't go away. And I said, oh, okay, it's because all the dirt is accumulating there and making me itchy. I even had something called the Hand of Glory, where I bought a workman's glove and I super glued some Velcro strips there so I could scratch myself. Don't mind my dog. My dog is just being paranoid about someone at the door right now. Anyway, so discipline. If you struggle with discipline, you will struggle with the just do shit philosophy. And as just do shit is not necessarily about following your passions, here's an example I saw when I was in Indonesia, when I was in Central Java. You'd see people carrying sulfur up and down the mountains. They did that because they had to. If they didn't, they wouldn't feed themselves or their families. They didn't have the privilege to choose better income. Some couldn't even get an education, and some would live in garbage heaps. So You have to just do shit simply to live. And if you're privileged enough to be watching this video, part of doing shit is recognizing that you can watch a YouTube video from your phone or your laptop. Why are you crying about what you can't do? I know people who are paralyzed from the waist down, but they use their upper body for a lot of things, whether it's for music, for drawing, or coding. And it's not because they need to, but because they want to. That's the discipline. The discipline that tells you, I'm not going to be limited by bullshit. Life is not going to tell me, this is what you have, this is what you're stuck doing. Just do shit is you saying, hell no, I will do more. I will do everything I can within my abilities. And if I don't have those abilities, I will earn them or I will find ways around them. I remember a distinct conversation I had about 15 years ago after a major breakup when I was with my best friend. We were sitting there in an Indian restaurant one afternoon near the West Side Pavilion Mall. And I was feeling sorry for myself. There were a lot of things I never got to do because I didn't get support, where my parents just didn't support my artistic and creative side, said there was no money in it. They said my drawing looked like shit, and that I can't sing and I don't play guitar well. I even had a friend who was a professional electronic musician and singer and hip-hop kind of guy. Obviously, he couldn't dance because he was 350 pounds, and he was mostly sedentary, mixing at his laptop. But he could rap, he could make beats, he could beatbox, and he made some damn good IDM. And when I was trying to learn the bongos, he said, you have no sense of rhythm. And I'm just, well, I'm trying to learn. He says, you shouldn't bother. You don't have any rhythm. And those are the worst things you can say to someone because they can just discourage you. And the problem is I'm easily discouraged, and part of the reason I'm easily discouraged, which is why you should also be kind to yourself when you wonder why you struggle with your negative thoughts or your limitations. I had narcissistic parents, I had toxic friends, so I did not have a strong sense of self or a strong sense of will. What made it worse is, to an extent, I had a degree of stability, because I had a place to stay and I didn't have to worry about food. But where could I go from there? I felt trapped, and I felt no need or urgent need to get out of that. So the exact same conversation happens 14 years later in Manila, where I'm catching up with my best friend on Zoom. And I'm saying, there's so many things I wish I could have done and I didn't get to do them years ago. But I don't know what happened. Life just happened. And right now I'm looking at my emotional state. I don't really feel ready to live just yet, as I'm just a couple years shy of being 40 when I chatted with him. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be nurtured and cared for. I want to have the childhood that was taken away from me. And then he looks at me and says, what's very frightening about this is you're starting to sound like a mutual acquaintance we both know who is a virgin in his 50s, and also not the kind of person you really want hanging around you, because he'd do things like stick his hand into his pants and dig for nuggets, or pick his nose and shake your hand and wonder why you didn't want to touch him. So I said, oh God, so I sound like that guy? Says, yes, you sound like him. And that was enough of a motivator to get me to get out of my asshole briefly, but not enough. Enough to continue with my various therapies to get my mental demons sorted out and to do things I wanted. I mean, just to give you an example of how much I've invested the past few years, especially the past 2 years since my last relationship and the pandemic. I've done art therapy, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, and neuromuscular therapy. Because I don't want to be a shitty person. I don't want to live with this debilitating unhappiness at times. I want to fix every single problem that leads me to every single one of my patterns and habits and screw-ups that leads to saying unkind things and doing dumb things or playing victim. Not to impress someone, not to do anything else, but be better. And whatever comes after that, to deserve better and to deserve what I truly desire. And the two people, again, who remind me of that are my best friend and my ex Dana. They both didn't have time to feel sorry for themselves because life wasn't easy for them. Yeah, they didn't really get much of a childhood either. My best friend worked since he was 15 and he did everything from customer service to retail, food service, you name it. And he managed to do pretty well for himself since he saw it all as a game eventually. And that game cheats. So, the guy made six figures at one point in time. And when he was yelled at by someone, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders because he says, I earn more money than you. Why are you yelling at me? Likewise, my ex didn't have enough money to finish college. She did a couple of years, and then she had to drop out and start working. So she did everything she could, including being a caretaker in Taiwan, and working in her relative's pet shop, sweeping and mopping the floor every morning. She had very limited opportunities as well, because she didn't have her bachelor's degree, even though she was very qualified, more qualified than people who just had bachelor's degrees. And so when we would argue about that, and she brought up a point that she shoved in my face, which I like to shove in other people's faces as well, when I say, what happens when you take a Harvard graduate's BA away from him? He's nothing without his degree. And she would say, well, what happens if we take away your UCLA degree? I say, okay, well, I worked for the Peace Corps. I lived in several countries. I made a difference raising money for the children's hospital where I worked at, wrote a lot of grants, brought in a lot of money. I connected a lot of people. I've made a difference in all sorts of ways. And she says, yeah, you could do that. Good for you. But really, how do those doors open for you? And how did my doors open when I didn't have those opportunities or privileges to get a UCLA degree? Well, I mean, she had me there. She had a shitty hand, but she played it well. I didn't have the best hand, but I had a better hand than her, and I played poorly. So, at the age of 40, she's already a homeowner, working in a call center, just busting her ass, and while we were together, I lent her money as well to do a 1-year older adult professional program to finish her bachelor's degree, designed for people like her. And she did it while working and taking care of the household. That is someone who knows how to just do shit. That is someone who has the discipline and, more importantly, the drive to do shit and be better. And here I am, a week away from turning 40. I don't have any debts, so I'm ahead of a lot of people in that sense. I do have a sense of who I am and what I like, so that's a really good start. I know what I want. That's a very good start. Most people don't know what they want. They just do what they're told to do, or they do what they think they should do. So, if you just do shit, your mental state is the game changer. My mental state for doing these things. If we look back, I very much was paralyzed by these thoughts about what I should do and who I should be. Either I did things that I didn't feel like doing, and I accomplished nothing, or I just didn't do things because I felt I'm stupid, I don't know, and I'll never get anywhere. So all that happens is I waste time and I complain about it. No one likes a whiner. Those are the kinds of people that you just want to get very, very far away from. So, your mental state, don't be too hard on yourself if you hear any of this and you think that, ah, shit, why am I still a victim? Why am I still struggling? I've wasted so much time. Not everyone is equipped with the tools or the self-awareness and the humility to accept that you kind of suck and you need to get better. Part of the other reason you should be kind to yourself for having the mindsets that don't work, for being able to just do shit. We don't know all of our own traumas or other people's traumas and experiences or our hurt that we're carrying. As I said, I had narcissistic parents, and I've suffered all sorts of abuse, from emotional to verbal, physical, and sexual abuse from people I know. And those things have stayed with me and really damaged my psyche. At the same time, though, a lot of amazing people suffered far worse, especially those who've survived genocides. So, I do want to say negative experiences that inspire these emotional states are not bad, even if we hate them at the time. They're the things that add pressure to you before you explode and make the necessary changes and go in the direction you're meant to for your calling in life. Many of the things I learned are because I had no choice if I wanted to live, to save money, and be healthy. Other things I did because I like knowing that I can do something instead of crying about how I don't know how to do something. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Think of condoms, just like that. This was validated yesterday twice during my daily morning tarot reading as a forecast, which told me, don't avoid hardships or distress. Those are what you need to push you in the direction you're meant to go in life. Then that same evening, oddly enough, a video I had saved in my queue from a few days prior mentioned the exact same advice. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out that video, but if you're not into spirituality discussions, you can skip it and just take the essence of what I said right now, which is, don't avoid negative experiences. They'll push you where you need to go. Don't let negative emotions or feelings and thoughts stop you from doing anything. Use them as fuel to motivate you to stop having them and transform it. So because I had 2 signs validating my thoughts yesterday, 2 is enough. That's enough of a synchronicity. It's not a coincidence. But if you see it 3 or more times, it means that you aren't paying attention. In my case, I see the signs, I've seen them, and I ignored them. And what has happened? A lot of misery. So, don't beat yourself up, but also don't get complacent. Just do shit. Learn the discipline. Accept it. When you wake up in the morning, sweep the floors, brush your teeth. If you need to shower, do that. Wash the dishes at the end of the day. If you let them pile up, do that only so that you only need to wash them once and save water. Flush the toilet or the urinal, you filthy pigs. When you use public restrooms, flush the toilet. If you lift up a toilet seat in someone's home, put it down when you're done. If you don't even bother to lift the toilet seat when you piss, you're a terrible person. Those are just examples of consideration and discipline. The discipline to be considerate and self-aware, as opposed to just going and doing rude and unpleasant things like that. Anyway, that's enough for today. I will see you next time. Take care, guys.